Hello everybody, welcome back. So we're going to have a look at ICP. I know, I'm like a bloody broken record, but it's got to be done. And this is one thing that I urge everybody to think about. I'm not just talking about ICP, but you know, when we're talking about this massive dump and everyone's like, oh my god, look at the size of this. And obviously ICP had a really nice rally leading up to that dump, and then as a result of that, on the dump day, made it look really bad, you know, when the price went down from its peak. But remember, we were talking about this leading up to this peak. We were saying, look, okay, this was based on the 4-hourly chart we were looking at. There's the 12-hourly chart. So we said, look, okay, when we break above this cloud, we get a Chiku span close above this cloud on the 4-hourly. What we're going to get is a nice big stab up to what would be probably a major area of resistance. And obviously, looking at this, we've never actually touched the 200 exponential before, ever, on a 12-hourly, and the candle bodies seem to struggle to break above it. So this was that resistance. This was the big push marked by the signal that was generated by the Ichimoku cloud, and this was the resistance based on a very, very strong level of moving average. You know, the 200 exponential is pretty much the big daddy of all moving averages. You know, you don't want to mess with it. If it's above you, you have to expect to be slapped in the face, just as you'd like to see it support you if you ever reclaim it. It's your best friend when you're above it. It's your worst enemy when you're below it. So that's what we got. So we got the big stab up. We got the rejection here. But if you were to look at this, you know, you don't need to have a trained eye to see that this is an uptrend versus its Bitcoin pair. And this is the key, right? This is the key. Everybody outside, like I said on my last video, is all flipping out, going absolutely crazy. It's a bear market, can't you see? The price has gone down. And I'm like, yeah, it has gone down, but you know, there's more to it than that. You know, there is opportunity in this market depending on how you decide to play it. And one of the best things to do is to look at Bitcoin pairs. So this is ICP to Bitcoin. Obviously, it's down over the last couple of days, like everything. But generally speaking, it's outperformed Bitcoin since what, mid-December. So it has outperformed Bitcoin since mid-December. So we'll just reiterate that ICP has outperformed Bitcoin since mid-December. The question, I suppose, now is it going to continue to outperform Bitcoin throughout January, and so on and so on? So we'll have a look at the daily, see what the daily looks like. And again, to the untrained eye, you don't need me to tell you that this is going up. And actually, if we were to look at this in any other reasonable way, we would say we're trending above all major moving averages. We're pushing the realm of the outer limits here, outside of the Bollinger Bands. You know, the zero gravity area, which is good. We're being supported on the most bullish moving average of all, which is the 7 simple moving average. And we've managed to break this 650, we'll call it, area of what previously was support has turned to resistance. So every aspect of this looks like an uptrend continuing, and just a consolidation is due for the next level. Now, just as we saw the Ichimoku cloud on a 12-hourly give us that big push up, we've got 2 of 4 signals to meet the criteria for the next one, which will be based for this daily chart. So we've got a green portion over here, so we can see that that's green. You don't need me to show you that. You can see that's green, but my big fat white line's in the middle of it. So that's a green portion. That's one aspect done. Cross here, so we've got 1, 2. The next thing we need is price above the cloud and Chiku span above the cloud. So that might be a bit unrealistic to expect that anytime soon, because if we were to move up, you know, for the Chiku span to close above the cloud to where the cloud is right now, it's nearing about, you know, it's more or less 900 sats. So that's a big move, you know. That might be a bit much to ask. That's a 26% move just to get to that level before the signal is generated for us to push up, which could push us up to wherever this 200 exponential is at the time. Let's face it, it's moving down every day, so there's no point in marking off specific targets, but that's what I would expect. Now we think about what this means. We've got the Chiku spans here. The cloud begins to dissipate around in about 2 weeks. Definitely in about 2.5 weeks, we're basically the cloud will have dissipated to the point where the price action is basically where it is right now. So if ICP either goes sideways completely or sideways and up, basically remains, we'll call it about 720 sats in about 2.5 weeks, we'll get that signal. That signal will be in the bag, and that will do another move like the one we had recently. This one pushing us up to probably wherever either the 200 exponential is or the 200 simple, which is here. Either way, they're all quite nice. They're all quite nice moves, and again, they'll be consistent with what will appear to be an uptrend that's already in play on the daily outperforming Bitcoin, which is nice. Now, this is also another area we have to entertain that obviously marks a particular toppy area. This is a Bitcoin chart, right? So Bitcoin pairs don't often get overextended. And since this came onto Binance, or into existence, to be honest with you, it doesn't like being outside of this area. This was a lot of money flowing into ICP from Bitcoin and pushed the money flow index to the highest read it's ever had, which is only 86, which isn't particularly high. But when you see Bitcoin pairs, you don't often see. It would be pretty rare to get the extensions that we normally get on Tether, which are up to like 95 and sometimes even like 99.9. You know, so yeah. I mean, that was a big old move, and I don't know why the money was flowing in, but it was, and we're all grateful for that. And it basically pushed it to its highest level so far on the money flow index. Fair enough. It also means that there's a lot of Bitcoin to be taken. For anyone who put money in, selling their Bitcoin to ICP, they were at risk, I suppose, at this level for being sold back into, for the people who want to sell their ICP to Bitcoin for whatever reason. Well, I'll tell you the reason would be is that from the last 3 days, Bitcoin has outperformed ICP. It's all relevant to your entry point, isn't it, really? So if you dumped into that liquidity from here to where we're at right now, you'd be 15% up. Well, technically everyone's down, but 15% up, if that makes sense, over the last 3 days. So that's the beauty of the money flow index, right? You can see where the money is. You know when the best time to get the best bang for your buck. But in fairness, even though that is high, it's outside of the comfort zone, and it's the highest it's ever been. It's not the highest we've ever seen. We see this all the time. We're going up to ridiculous levels on the dailies and sometimes even on the weeklies. And if we look at the weekly, there is absolutely no chance that this has reached its peak. It's only at 50% right now. I mean, there's nothing. MACD, for what it's worth, diverging. RSI, bullish divergence. Not that you can see that because this chart is flat as a pancake when you look at it like that. You'd really need to put it onto the log scale to see. But bullish divergence on the weekly suggests that this is coiling up for one hell of a massive move. I sound like an ICP fanboy, and I don't know what it is about me. I think it might be some kind of rare personality defect that I gravitate to these coins that people seem to really hate and loathe. But this honestly does look pretty good, and no one can deny the fact that this has outperformed Bitcoin since the 20th of December, and so that in itself should be enough for everybody to go, right, I see where you're coming from. Uptrend is good, downtrend is bad. Bullish divergence on the weekly is good. Bearish divergence on it. So you see where I'm coming from? It's not as bad as people think. And when we were talking about buying bottoms, which is what we were trying to do around here, all around this zone we're trying to buy bottoms, sometimes it doesn't work out because the bottom, technically, we've got a bullish divergence on a weekly, which is fine, but because it's a weekly, it's going to take a little while for it to work out. I think, we're talking about risk to reward across the board for any kind of altcoin that I'm aware of. And again, I don't troll through all the altcoins in the world. I have some that I focus on more than others because there's only a certain amount of brain capacity that I can cordon off to all this stuff. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, as far as of all the ones that I like and look at on a relatively regular basis, this one's pretty good. And it's the only one really that I've been dollar cost averaging into, based upon that massive bullish divergence on the weekly. I'm not particularly bothered about a particular entry point anywhere from about, we'll call it about $45 to all the way down to wherever it was when it reached its low, about $20. All of that is still relatively low, given what we see brewing on that weekly. This one could really properly moon, and the operative word is could, because we are looking down the barrel of a potential, well, I'm not going to say it because I don't want to panic anybody, but yeah, we could break down and go into a bear market. We could go lower, definitely. But at the moment, everything is still in the favour of the bulls because we're at a very strong level of support on Bitcoin, technically accumulation zone, potentially even bottom, if not now, at some point very soon. So risk to reward would say, all right, if Bitcoin's bottoming in and we're trading something against Bitcoin, let's go for the one with the massive bullish divergence on a weekly. Let's go with the one that's outperformed Bitcoin already, where for the through thick and thin over the last almost getting on for about 3 weeks. Seems like a no-brainer at this stage. The ICP train is probably not yet left, and probably won't leave until probably given the fact that we're looking at a weekly, many months. But the risk to reward is what I'm talking about. Looks relatively good, and even if we're looking to trade it up to from here, just up to these peaks or these candle bodies, we're still talking 128% versus its Bitcoin pair. Seems relatively realistic as far as I'm concerned, based upon the risk to reward, the bullish divergence on a weekly, the way that it reacted to the 12-hourly signal on the Ichimoku cloud, and the Ichimoku cloud on the daily, which is now brewing. It's already got 2 of the 4 portions that we need to confirm that big next stab up, and then that we'll have to see where it goes from there, because like I say, that's not happened yet. We'll wait until it happens, but it does look pretty good, and like I say, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that this will work out as a trade. The only component is time, which is what people just don't really understand when I'm making these videos. That a day or maybe even like 45 minutes will go by and someone say, I just watched this video and it's not done anything. It's not moved. It's not moved at all. In fact, it went down, actually. It went down by 0.5%. I don't know what you're talking about. I will literally watch the video, and by the time it finished, the price was the same. So remember, bullish divergence on the weekly, which is, like I say, very pronounced on this chart, is an extremely bullish thing. The only problem that you're going to have is time. And a lot of people don't have time or patience. They think, crypto does get you some serious gains seriously fast, but not as fast as you might think. And I'm not talking to everybody because I don't want to tie everyone in the same brush. But there are a lot of people that think that if I press the buy button right now, that means that I, for whatever reason, have bought the absolute low. It's not the case. That's not the case. This is why people get liquidated all the time using margin trading. It's not going to be the case. You're going to be subject to the volatility of the market. You're subject to Bitcoin, which is subject to the Dixie, which is subject to all these other things that we've been talking about these last, couple of months, I suppose. It's not as simple as that. But when you boil it down to its bare bones and its absolute simplicity of this chart, it does look like this year should outperform Bitcoin, no question. Doesn't mean that by the time you finish watching this video it will have outperformed Bitcoin, although it could have done. It certainly has for the last 3 weeks, but doesn't mean that by the time this video is finished that you will be able to retire with your Lamborghini or whatever it is that you want to throw your money into. Me personally, I'm just looking to maybe I don't know, a canal boat, I think. I'm not looking for life in the fast lane. I'm looking for life in the slowest lane possible. But yeah, I mean that's not going to work for you. You've got to think about, I'm talking about a weekly chart, and it's going to take weeks, months, maybe even the majority of the year for you to outperform Bitcoin consistently and reach levels which would, I suppose, potentially get you a Lamborghini. Maybe, depends on how much you put in. Right, I'm going to leave it with you there, guys. Let's keep our eyes on this one and keep our eyes on Bitcoin pairs. That's the key to this market right now. We're going to use Bitcoin as our major indicator for spotting the low for the market, and we're going to try and crush the market even more by focusing on Bitcoin pairs. Right, I'll leave it with you there, guys. Another big ramble. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.